The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Anyone and everyone, thank you so much. I'm Bernardo Moya. I'm the founder of The Best You, and I wanted to welcome today my guest, which is Josh Ritcher. And Josh is an author and a mental empowerment coach. God knows that this is needed. He's on a mission to make mental health a conversation we can openly have. The goal is to become aware, as we don't need to, something that we don't need to numb. So become someone who can deal with their own emotions, from a centered and awake place, choosing our reactions consciously instead of just reacting blindly to the world, and basically creating a positive, constructive patterns that become powerful habits. Mental health is obviously a big thing, and obviously I was checking your webpage, Josh, and a lot of the work that you do, obviously with your podcast, and I love kind of what you quote and a lot of the stuff that you're doing, and obviously kind of...
Thank you.
So congratulations. I want to talk to you also about your book. But first of all, I always like, because, you can get so much from a bio, but I'd like you to give me your kind of take. 3 questions. Who are you? What is it you do? And what is it you're looking to do or help, or how are you helping people?
Sure. Well, who am I? Gosh, I've been a born voracious problem solver, and that lent very well to television, where I've been for the last 18 years in production. And what I do, I found my passion because of my personal crash. And so I'm on a mission to wake others up to the power of their daily thoughts. Mine brought me down with huge depression, anxiety. I had tried to start a side business out of TV and owed hundreds of thousands to investors as it was failing. And all of those daily patterns, that negativity and that self-criticism that I was putting on myself brought me down. And I almost jumped off the 6th floor of the Sony Pictures studio parking garage just to end that just constant noise and negativity in my head. So as I studied neuroscience from that point on and healed myself of the depressions and got off 7 medications, I discovered my true passion, which is helping others and waking others up to the power that we do have inside our own heads. So it's been an amazing journey. I'm so grateful to have been brought to this place where now I can coach others and teach others. And I'm just so blessed for this second part of my life. That has been a huge joy.
So tell me, where were you originally from? Where were you born, and what did you start doing? What were your first initial things when you work for a company? I was born out here in California, but moved around the Southwest. And then I got into film and TV in the early days in Denver, and then moved out to LA to make it a career. And I started as an art director right away and doing films and TV shows. And I've done that for the last 18 years out here in Los Angeles. I've had a great career. I've done everything I wanted to do. I worked on a lot of really fun creative projects and great TV shows. We've had multiple Emmys. So very proud of the work I've done there. But for me, like just creating mindless television for people to tune their lives out to has kind of lost a little bit of its luster. And I'm loving teaching people to tune in now to their own selves and listening to their inner dialogues and cleaning that up. So let me just ask you a little bit more, because I obviously want to kind of put in perspective how you hit kind of, I suppose, that rock bottom when, but you decided to, I don't know, you came up with an idea, project, something that you wanted to do, and it just didn't work out, which is, hey, listen, that's what happens when you're an entrepreneur. It's the name of the game. It's not an easy game. And it has setbacks. And
and that's what it has, and but obviously some entrepreneurs are more successful than others because they're savvier, and a lot of the times it's just that mindset. So what happened to you, and kind of like, okay, you hit that rock bottom, okay, when you were saying that you were on the thinking of doing something drastic. So what happened then? Kind of what got you to kind of that turning point to get you onto the path that you're doing now? Because obviously there was a journey there. I want you to share that journey a little bit, because obviously that's part
of course.
Those are your scars.
Yeah, our breakdown was our breakthrough, right? So yes, we had tried to launch. It was a tech startup. It was basically a project management for film and TV. So all the hundreds of cast and crew you see at the end credits of a movie, we set out to organize them all digitally, and permission-based file storage and all of that, managing that huge cast and crew that you see. And I think we were early, honestly. I think the industry was slower to adopt tech than we thought, and we tried to wait it out. And we had some really bad luck, too. The first company that we hired to build the software for us was a big Ponzi scheme, and we lost $100,000 almost off the bat. And we lost a patent in a really weird time in the U.S. Patents Office's history. So all of that, these repeat failures, and it's funny. I'm a pretty sensitive sort of, quasi. I've learned my intuitiveness, but even back then, it felt right to keep going, and I didn't know why. As we were getting more financially exposed and further out on a limb, I kept checking in, and it felt right to keep continuing. And looking back now, I realized I wasn't building a business at all, that my crash had to happen and bring me here to my true passion. And I'm grateful for the universe to bringing me to that. But yeah, at the end, those thoughts of being a failure and letting down our investors, letting down, all the debt I incurred. We tried to save the company on credit cards, and I had over $120,000 of exposed debt that I couldn't pay back as well. And so that noise it was deafening. And I used alcohol to numb that noise. And what I didn't know was that my gift is that I'm bipolar. And my bipolar racing brain, which was amazing for me in TV, and an upside, I could outperform so many people. But that spinning bipolar mind, when caught in these negative ruts, took me down fast. And I had routine depressive episodes where I couldn't get off the couch for weeks after finishing a TV show, and my anxieties were swelling during that time. And so all of this was just too much to handle. And I parked for work at Sony Picture Studios one day, and I looked over the edge and I said, wow, this would stop all the noise. And I really just wanted peace. I mean, that's what we all want in our minds, is just stillness and peace, and to be able to, flush out. That was why I was using alcohol to numb, was to create this peace for myself. And I, to this day, couldn't tell you exactly what stopped me. I even made 2 running starts and skidded to a halt just before my leap. And so I don't know if it was self-preservation or if there was a higher power at work. But after leaving the garage, I ended up crying back in the car for another few hours, and my co-department head ended up replacing me for the rest of that season. And I decided to get myself right and take time out for me. And I actually went to rehab, and that's where I learned I was bipolar. And then it's so common for bipolars to numb with alcohol. And I started this quest. I said, okay, my beautiful problem-solving brain, the gift part of me, wanted to understand this. How had I gotten here, and how did it get so bad? And more importantly, how could I get out of it? And so I turned to neuroscience. I really started, I went down this crazy path of understanding the brain and how it works. And I tried some experiments. I did some neurohacking on myself. And the first thing I tried was a month of self-love. And I would learn, well, the practice was I told myself all day, every day, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. And what I would come to learn later is that the prefrontal cortex, the rationing part of your brain, really doesn't like it when you repeat something over and over. You're burning energy. The prefrontal cortex is an energy hog. And so the brain doesn't like that. And so what it'll do after about a month of repeating something is it'll implant it into the automated part of the brain. And so I discovered this amazing tool that repetition could be used to install good things, positive things in my life. And from that point on, I mean, it was off to the races. I ran several other months of reframing after the month of self-love. And within 90 to 100 days, I went from the parking garage to a completely different life. I mean, I was happy. The depressions had gone. The anxiety was going away. I was able to drop all these medications that I was on to help my mood. And that's when I discovered that, wow, our daily thoughts have a massive, massive impact on our lives. And to catch those in the moment and change them, that reframing was all the power I needed for the rest of my life to generate my own happiness.
Well, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that, because it's obviously kind of like, you went in details there and obviously kind of like, that it just can't be easy. And for me, it's always important. I feel that, especially in personal progression growth, people have to walk their talk. I think a lot of people that don't necessarily have the experience, you've got the experience as a problem solver, obviously, with TV and what you were doing, making things happen, because that's what you did. You made things happen.
Yeah.
And then you hit rock bottom and you went through obviously a challenging time and you came up with a strategy and now you're living it.
It is said that we live in a world our questions create. And it's true. Those that have succeeded in life, those that stand out, those that have made a difference, those that are inventing, those that are exploring, pushing the boundaries of reality are based on those that have asked themselves empowering questions. In my new book, The Question, Find Your True Purpose, I help you find your true purpose, find your legacy. For more information, go to www.thequestion.co. If you're interested in working with me, contributing to the magazine, maybe speaking at any of our many events around the world, partnering or licensing The Best You, go to www.thebestyou.co.
How would you define, if you don't mind, what is it exactly that kind of, and how you help people now?
Definitely. Well, I think the first part is realizing that our thoughts do have an impact on our life. And an example that I like to use is think of the last time you bought a new car, and a car that you didn't previously know a lot about. And you look up that car online and you study that vehicle and you test drive it. And all of a sudden that car appears everywhere in your world. It's all of a sudden magically everywhere. Well, it's not magic. It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. And what's happening is that we're passed with millions of bits of information all day long, and the brain is dismissing what's not important, what isn't pleasure-seeking, what's not dangerous. And so the brain is just ignoring all of these things. Well, with the car, when you started thinking about a new vehicle, the brain says, okay, that's important. Now we're going to find that in our view. It's like a lens or a filter to your life. So by focusing on something, it now appears in your world. Well, the same thing happens with negative thoughts and in the opposite, positive thoughts.
Whatever you focus on expands. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely. And so I love waking up clients first to the thought patterns that they're having. And, building awareness is the first part. And secondly, now we can tinker with that and we can play with that and we can use reframing. And by reframing, I mean, we first become the observer of our thoughts. We are not our brain. A brain is just a machine. It's running, it's spitting out data, it's trying to keep us safe. And so first we observe what it's doing, and then we're able to catch these moments of self-criticism, of shame, of pressure, and we're able to choose new words and choose new thought patterns. And that constant choosing of new over time, it's like water in the Grand Canyon. It is, the old patterns took a while to carve that canyon down. Well, the new patterns, we're doing the same thing. And when you get to a certain point, the water will go the new way automatically. And it doesn't take as long as, the lifetimes of bad patterns that we set up. It's about a month, a little bit longer, and the brain will automate this for us. But we can interject and we can disrupt those old negative patterns. And so I love, like I was saying, first, waking clients up to the power they have. And secondly, showing them how they can redirect their thoughts and consciously choose in the moment and create new thought patterns.
Well, several things you said there. Obviously, first of all, is the key word awareness, which for me is kind of, this happened to me when I learned NLP for the first time. I was aware of my thoughts. Oh my God, I'm aware of my thoughts. I've never thought about what I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
and it's also about being conscious about what we're thinking about. And I find that fascinating because we've all met negative people that all of a sudden they walk into the room and the room goes dark and you can feel negative energy coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking. I mean, come on. Don't they realize how negative they are? So obviously, kind of this as it may sound very kind of logical to a lot of people and normal and understanding. There's so many people that just don't do it. There's just so many people that just don't focus on the quality of their thoughts and what they're doing, and they don't think about thinking differently. It is.
Well, and two, it's really hard to explain how that changes your life and how that alters how you show up in the world. The massive, it seems like the smallest thing. I kind of equate it to, I did a lot of self-help before. And when I was building the business, I was going to success seminars. I mean, 3-day, 5-day, 7-day, super intensive. I was voraciously trying to create change in my life. And I never found it. It never happened because I wasn't changing my thought patterns. So those old patterns were still manifesting themselves no matter how hard I was trying to create change. And so I felt like, at the end, when I learned that the secret was in my daily thoughts, I felt like I had climbed to the top of Machu Picchu and my bloodied hands and knees. And, I had worked for over a decade to find the secret to a better life. And I opened the stone chest and the gold rays came down from the heavens, and it was a pebble in there. And it was the same pebble that's in my front yard. It's your thoughts. And it seems so simple and so small and insignificant, but it makes all the difference in the world. And I've tried everything.
Well, and I can tell you, I know tens of thousands of people that have done everything. I know tens of thousands of people that have spent ridiculous amounts of money.
Oh, yeah.
Doing all sorts of training, and then they don't go down to the basics, which is that pebble, which is understanding how to think and change the way you think, which obviously can bring all sorts of things into your life.
Yeah.
Now, mental health is a big issue.
Absolutely.
So you're never going to run out of clients. You obviously picked a great one, but it's a very serious matter, isn't it? I mean, there's
it's a very heavy time.
Very, very heavy time. I know that in particular, male suicide in the UK is the biggest killer, and we're talking the age of it's the biggest killer, more than cancer, more than car accidents, whatever. When we're talking from the age of 28 to 55. So male suicide, the biggest killer. I know it's one of the biggest killers, obviously, in the US as well, especially people coming out of the armed forces, veterans and things.
Yeah.
So mental health is a big issue. What do you think can or should or will happen? Because, it's a lot of things need to happen and we need to do things differently.
It is. And it's and in my studies, our brains evolved during a much more simple time. And so the speed at which the world has picked up and the speed at which we're being, subjected to external influence, things that are trying to influence us emotionally, that has rapidly, even within the last 20 years, blown up. And what it's doing is it's triggering our primitive minds. And that's why we're seeing these manifestations of depression, of suicide, mass shootings. All of these are just manifestations of dis-ease, discomfort that's going on inside of these people. And firstly, what I want everybody to know is that, you're not broken and you're not flawed, and you're not to be shamed to think that your life isn't working. You're human. We all are. And we're all being triggered like crazy right now. So I firstly want to shine the light in the dark corners. I'm bipolar. I abused alcohol to numb the pains of the world and my painful emotions. And so I get it. I'm with you. We're here. We're human. Let's get through this, and let's learn some tools that we can implement into our daily lives and create change, positive, lasting, happy change. I've been doing this for a long time now, and it doesn't go away. It's not that self-help that you read and you're good for a couple of weeks and it slowly fades. This is a lifestyle, choosing your thoughts daily and consciously by my own design or by your own design, and that generates a new life.
So you shared already a couple of techniques and ideas here. What is, or what are the kind of things that what type of people do you help with, or what kind of people do you help, and what are the kind of like the common techniques that you use when it comes down to helping individuals for quick dramatic change?
For sure. Repetition's a big tool. And then I talked about the months of reframing. So after my crash, I tried to find the one word that, once I learned the self-love and I could install, this into my brain and my subconscious, I was like, wow, well, what can I remove? And I thought of one word that encapsulated my whole crash. And it was the word should. Should is a terrible word that we use against ourselves. I was using it in the future. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And then in the past, I would use it against myself. I should have seen that coming. I shouldn't have done this. And it's just all this self-generated pressure. And I thought, man, if I could take that away, that would ease my life so much. It was that inner critic that I was trying to silence by almost jumping off the parking garage. And so I was like, what's another word for a happier, more positive, less pressure-filled word? And I thought of the word could. Could has option in it. It's not a harsh word. It's not as black and white, pass, fail as the word should. So I ran a month of reframing should to could. And every time I said it out loud or in my own head, I had to back up and restate the sentence with the word could. And it got really weird on set because I was doing all of this work while I was back in TV. And so, when I'm talking to a producer and saying, we shouldn't put the camera over there. And I was like, we could put the camera over there. And it's not an exact word proper English, but I did it anyway for a month. And that's when my depressions and anxiety. So one of the first things I do with my clients are these months of reframing and really just catching the words in the moment. And what it's also doing is it's making you become aware of that dialogue that's just been running all on its own. You start to become the watcher and the observer of those patterns that your brain is just spitting out. And so, yes, repetition, reframing are huge tools that I use. I'm also a big proponent of doing a morning gratitude list or a daily gratitude list. And I'm actually building an app right now, which is really cool because I'm using the phone's push notifications to kind of keep up that positivity. Our brains, it's not your fault. Our brains are wired to scan the world for negatives. It's trying to keep us safe and alive. So we are sort of already programmed in this negative way. The brain is, trying to find this in the world. So it takes a little practice, but we got to fuel that positivity engine. And by appreciating what we do have is an amazing way of generating just this wealth, this spring of positivity in your life. And also, I don't know, I'm sure you're aware of Heart Math, the little monitor that you clip to your ear. You've seen that?
Yeah.
I've played around with it hundreds of hours on what's the fastest way to get to coherence. And hands down, the quickest way that I can drop into coherence, even faster than imagining a beautiful sandy beach or, beautiful blue skies, is by holding thoughts of gratitude. And I've tested this, over hundreds of hours. Gratitude is the fastest way for your body to drop into coherence. And it's this magic sauce of the universe that is just such an amazing tool. So gratitude is a huge part of my practice as well. And I'm really excited about the upcoming app because we got some fun stuff.
To find out more about our latest projects, get a free coaching lesson, or download my book, go to www.bernardo-moya.com.
I was looking at your webpage about the app. So tell me, how long, for example, when you do gratitude, is that kind of like a morning routine you do, and how long do you do it for?
I keep my morning routine under 7 minutes. I'm a busy guy. I work 12-hour days in TV. I'm still doing some of the shows that I'm involved with in between coaching. And all of my work is really meant to be either practices you do inside your head or within 7 to 10 minutes in the morning, this gratitude list that I do. So it's quick, it's fast, and the app is going to make it really fun too. We're doing intention cards. I wrote 44 of my own intention cards. So in the app, after you do your gratitude list, I do a positive I am statement for the day. I had a great coach years ago that she would ask, what's a lie you're believing today? And flip that around into a positive I am statement. Because we're telling ourselves these stories that aren't based in truth. So let's flip that into a positive I am. And the power of I am statements. So we do the gratitude list, positive I am statement, do an attaboy. We often don't celebrate our wins and stop and pat ourselves on the back for the good things that we've done or the things we've achieved. We just often get stuck on this treadmill in life of striving or striving for more. Yeah. So we do we do an attaboy, and then I set an intention for the day. And again, all of this takes 7 to 10 minutes. And the app is really fun because if someone doesn't want to write their own intention, they can flip through the deck and decks of cards will revolve, and you stop and a card will flip over, and that's your intention for the day. And I hand wrote all of these myself, and so put a lot of work into it. It's going to be a fun tool.
Well, looking forward to it. When will it come out?
I'm hoping before the expo. We're working hard.
Good. So let me say, kind of one of the things I say is that I think to have the right mindset, one of the things is I just believe a lot of people lie to themselves, permanently and constantly. They're always they're full of crap. Basically, they're just saying, "Hey, I should go to the gym. Oh, I could go to the gym," but basically they're lying to themselves. They're just not going to go to the gym. So I think the holistic approach, which is I call it about everything you do, is part of who you are. So obviously, kind of like exercising, meditating, eating well, reading well, being surrounded by good, positive people. All those things have obviously a massive impact in being a bit more congruent. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, and this is probably a good point to talk about this. I used to, when I started doing this work, I was trying to achieve something. I was trying to achieve change in my life. And I've gotten to the point now where I wake up. So I have to be on set sometimes at 6 a.m, which means I set my alarm for 3:30 a.m. so that I can wake up and meditate for an hour before I go to work, because it starts my day in such an amazing way. And I don't do it to achieve anything anymore. I do it because it's an hour for me and I feel amazing. And it's so incredible. So yes, these practices, meditation was amazing. And for a bipolar, sitting down and being silent with your own brain was extremely hard at first. So the fact that I can do it for an hour now is a testament. It's a muscle, it's something we can learn. And a lot of people try it and say, "Oh, I wasn't good at it," but give it another shot, because it's it created so much peace for me in my life and allowed so much joy. And yes, it's like fueling my body with good food now. That self-love that I ran and that month of self-compassion really made me want to take care of this vehicle, this vessel that we've been given. And so, and I think, it's interesting. It's not for anything anymore. And it's just for the joy because it feels good. And I've already, it's fun. The other day, an idea hit me for my next book. And I was like, wow, I haven't even got the first one out yet. And it's just finding the joy. And, I'm a seeker, and I'll be a seeker for my entire life. But turning that attention inward now and listening to that little voice inside and just saying, what makes me feel good? And I'm just going to do more. I'm going to follow that. I'm going to just follow that inner voice. And of course, when we're learning and growing and, learning from other people, we try things on. We say, oh, that's a cool practice that somebody does. How's that fit? Oh, that feels good. I'll adopt that, or I'll try that. Just following that joy on what feels good and what uplifts you to be your best person. And it's a self journey. And I know we're exposed to so many different things from so many different people, and try it on, see how it feels. And if it feels good, continue it. And for no other reason than just that, inviting joy into your life again, instead of getting caught in this striving all the time. So,
well, listen, I think we covered a couple of things, and obviously I think we're talking about, the power of the mind, and obviously making sure that we ask ourselves empowering questions, and that we have the right for, my book, which is called The Question, which is about that, is teaching people how to ask themselves empowering questions that can help them. I give people the example, because there's people that get up in the morning, they look at themselves in the mirror and say, oh my God, how ugly do I look today? And of course, they're going to have 300 reasons why they look ugly. But other people get up to, oh my God, how amazing, or how amazing is my day going to be? So it's all about that internal dialogue, being aware of your thoughts. Yeah. Now, your book, which you're telling me, your book, which is coming out soon, is it? It's called A Ship for Brains. When is that out?
Yes. So, well, I have a couple of publishers that are looking at it right now. So I'm holding back, but if that doesn't follow through, I'm going to go ahead and self-publish. It's already helped a lot of people. I've sent it out to a nice test group, and they're finding the practices extremely helpful, and they're seeing change in their lives. So the feedback's been incredible, and I'm really, really excited to get it out. So as soon as possible, and before the expo, it'll be out either way, either through help from somebody else or on my own.
Well, we're looking forward to that. And you seem to be having a lot of fun with your podcast, your Mental Best, which I love. I love the branding around it. I love kind of obviously the discussions you're having here. So I would highly recommend. I'm going to subscribe to it and to listen to quite a few. I've had a quick brief through some of them.
Thank you.
I was going to say that I love the whole branding. I love the concept about it, and I love kind of what you do. Obviously, I understand the importance of what you do within the mental health industry. So,
well, I'm really trying to just be vulnerable as well. I think in the social media era now, everybody putting their best foot forward. I kind of just stopped caring what other people thought. And I said, I'm going to come forward with the bipolar and with the addiction and all of that, because this is life. This is real. This is, the challenges that I was given in this life. And so therefore, by shining light in our dark corners, we can allow others to feel and others to heal. And so, yeah, I'm really raw in all of my posts and in the podcast and on Instagram. And I post when I have bad days and when I'm struggling to tame that spinning mind, because there's value in that for somebody else, or it gives someone else permission to feel. That all of this work isn't just blowing up our happiness and ignoring our feelings. It's not that at all. It's allowing ourselves to feel and being aware of that, but then, not allowing us to get stuck and not allowing the brain to just keep spitting out these things. So moving through your emotion and then choosing a new way out of it. So it's not this ignoring. And so I really am embracing that as well. It's like
you can see it. You can really see it with the work that you're doing. So congratulations. Now tell me, Josh, what you're going to be speaking at the Expo in LA on 2021. So tell me, what are you going to be talking about, and why? I'm interested in knowing what was appealing about the Expo, why you wanted to get involved.
Well, first of all, it's such a beautiful mission and such a beautiful thing that you've built and you've put together, and I think the world is saying enough right now. Like we talked about all of the negative manifestations. I think people right now are really starting to turn towards truth and say, gosh, my life isn't working. How can I make this better? And I think we're seeing larger numbers of seekers and people not just, in the normal self-help world, but trying to expose themselves to a lot of different ways that they can create change in their lives and change the things that they're unhappy about. And so putting this expo together where you're exposing them to all of these the health and the wellness and the mindfulness and all of these different stages and beautiful speakers that are going to be there. I'm just so honored to be a part of that. And what I'm going to speak about, my talk is, I'm still refining it. But I'm trying to think of a fun little teaser. I'll explain why I called the book "Ship for Brains," and I'll explain this analogy when I speak, and then go into it more in depth. But I watched it. This realization came from a pretty unlikely place. I watched a documentary about cruise ships. And cruise ships are such large objects in the ocean, they're very susceptible to being pushed around by the winds and changing ocean currents, much like the forces outside of ourselves that try and push us around in life and invite us to get angry or beat ourselves up. These external things that we can't control. Well, most of us, and including myself, live our entire lives on the deck of the ship, where we're not actually in control, getting blown around by the external forces, yelling at the wind and yelling at the waves for not getting to our dream island or where we want to go. And there's another part of the ship. There's this autopilot, which is your subconscious, which is trying to keep you safe in the harbor, not actually sailing out to where you want to go. And so that's why we feel this push and pull in our lives. And so what I'm doing with the book and my work is taking people from the deck of their ship where they don't have control up into the captain's bridge. And what we can do is learn some of the buttons and knobs in the control room or the brain. And then we can slightly course correct more often. And we can learn to turn off that autopilot switch, our subconscious that's trying to keep us back in the harbor. And we can finally get to our dream island, or where we've been seeking to go across the oceans. And we can brave the winds and the waves. And sure, we're never going to be able to stop those winds and waves. And sometimes even tsunamis roll through. But we can course correct and we can keep moving forward and keep on this path of where we want to go. So that's where the Ship for Brains came from. And I'll definitely be talking about that at the expo as well.
Well, Josh, thank you so much, and congratulations on all your great work. Anyone listening, because obviously this is going to be recorded also as a podcast, so how can people get hold of you and find out a little bit more about the work you do?
Absolutely. Well, the brand is Your Mental Best. So it's yourmentalbest.com. You can search for the podcast on Spotify and iTunes, which is Your Mental Best. And Instagram, I'm very active on Instagram. It's probably where I'm most active. So it's just at Josh Ritcher, and that's Ritcher. And I still have a few free tickets for the expo, and I put a link on my webpage today. So yourmentalbest.com. And Bernardo, seriously, thank you. I'm just so grateful for you and your work and inviting me on today. This has been a lot of fun. It's clearly a passion of both of ours. And I'm just honored.
No, man. Well, listen, congratulations. Great work. Keep it up. And hey, before we realize, we'll be at the expo together. So I'll see you soon.
Can't wait to give you a big hug, my friend.
Take care, my friend. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye, Bernardo.
Thank you.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.